What's going on, guys? Welcome back for another video. Today's video is gonna be on the Tainted Pact combo. So if you're looking at this deck for the first time, it may seem kind of odd because there's a lot of one-ofs. Pretty much the entire deck is a one-of except for two cards, Tainted Pact and Thassa's Oracle. And so yeah, so the deck is based around this card, Tainted Pact. Exile the top card of your library. You may put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. Repeat this process until you put a card into your hand or you exile two cards with the same name, whichever one comes first. So basically, if you were to have multiples in the deck of a card, and you ran into two of them, you would basically not be able to pick up that card. It would just exile and the spell would fizzle. So it's important to have one of each card in the deck, except for Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pact, because if you have a Thassa's Oracle and you cast a Tainted Pact with Thassa's Oracle's trigger on the stack, that means there will be one Thassa's Oracle remaining in your deck and one Tainted Pact, which means that the rest of your deck is going to be able you're going to be able to go through your entire deck. So yep, this is a 4-card combo, really similar to Inverter and Thassa's Oracle from Pioneer. Or if you go old school, you can play Legacy, and it's really similar to Doomsday. And if you've played Modern, it's kind of like Splinter Twin because it just takes 2 cards to go off. But the total amount of mana that you end up paying for this combo is 4. And that's why it's busted. And I think that it should be banned as soon as possible because arena mechanics also don't support this combo because there's a whole time element in terms of how long the Tainted Pact takes to resolve. Basically, flipping each card has an animation and that takes up a whole lot of time. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about the deck and what makes it more consistent than it seems like on the surface. And another important question that people like to ask, why aren't you playing Lurrus and why aren't you playing Lutri? Both of those companions can easily be played in a shell like this, and I basically found them not to be useful based on my testing. Alright, so first thing we'll start off with is Lutri. So you're playing a lot of one-ups, why can't you just cut Thassa's Oracle and a Tainted Pact and just play a Lutri? Lutri wouldn't be a strong enough win condition, like a strong enough win condition to add to the deck to make it better than having another 2 pieces of your main combo. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is Lurrus is kind of the same way. You would need to cut a lot of your 4 mana win conditions in order to do that. And I feel after testing that Jace, Wielder of Mysteries as an alternate win condition, which also works with Tainted Pact, and Crackling Drake, which also works with Tainted Pact, ends up being like overall better for the deck, because if you rely on like a small creature like Lurrus as your win condition with Tainted Pact, you start to lose to decks like Rogues, whereas Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, actually when it resolves against Rogues, it feels like you can't lose in a million years because they have no actual way to get it off the board. And then Crackling Drake, the way it works is it counts the number of instants and sorceries that are in exile as well. So if you cast a Tainted Pact into a Tainted Pact, you're going to be able to easily exile 20 something spells, because I think the deck plays like 24 spells, so you're usually able to just get lethal. You can run into double Thassa's Oracle, but you would need to get pretty unlucky, because you can go like Tainted Pact, and if you hit a Thassa's Oracle in between the other Tainted Pact, that means you're going to be able to get to the end. but yeah, so Crackling Drake has proven itself to be a nice extra win condition. And then yeah, and then the rest of the deck is just a bunch of one-ofs that really buy you a lot of time, right? You have Inquisition and Thoughtseize as great discard. You have good removal in Blood Chief's Thirst and Fatal Push, and you kind of just double up on those type of cards because the format is wide enough and has enough cards that a lot of the cards do the same thing, right? Sweltering Suns and Anger of the Gods, really similar effects. Storm's Wrath, Languish, a lot of the same effects. And then you have these tutors which can help you get to the combo faster. Wishclaw Talisman is a tutor. Then you have Solve the Equation, which can just go get Tainted Pact. And then you have Mastermind's Acquisition, and this can get cards from your sideboard as well. So you have an extra Jace in the sideboard as a win condition. You can even get Underworld Breach, so you can bring back your whole graveyard, or you can even grab a Tainted Pact. And then you also have a Fae of Wishes, which also reaches into your sideboard. So you can grab like the Jace, or you can grab the Tainted Pact as well. So the deck is way more consistent than it seems on the surface, and once you see it play out, I hope it will make all the sense. So we're going to jump into the gameplay and let's see how it plays out. Alright, we're going to be playing first, and we have half of our combo. We have a Brainstorm and a Search for Azcanta. This seems pretty nice. We'll keep. We'll just go ahead and start off with an island. Just in case they play discard, we can hide both of our nice cards. And we'll still cast the Brainstorm. So we're definitely going to be playing the Drowned Catacomb into the Search for Azcanta. So what we can do is we can get rid of a land and hide the Tainted Pact. Actually, we're just going to draw the Tainted Pact. So we draw the Tainted Pact. We play the Drowned Catacomb. We go ahead and play the Search. So this means we can discard. We can mill the Watery Grave, which is going to be great. Yep, this can go to the graveyard. We can draw for turn. That's fantastic. So I'm actually just gonna push this, and I'm gonna shock and pass the turn, because I'm betting we're just playing against regular green-white, and we can potentially hit an Elite Spellbinder. So we're gonna let this resolve with the trigger on the stack. We'll go ahead and hit the Elite Spellbinder. They're gonna take a look at our hand. They're probably gonna choose Tainted Pact if I had to guess. Yep, they choose Tainted Pact. We'll take another Tainted Pact. We can go ahead and play this on black, and then play our Bone Crusher. Alright. So we have 3 cards in the bin. If we were to Prismari Command, I actually like the sound of Prismari Command. And we're just gonna pass a turn because we're most likely facing a Coco here. We'll let the Coco resolve. See what it ends up hitting. Yep, we'll just pass. The Archon definitely makes things interesting. Yeah, the Great Hand really doesn't do anything. We're going to take our 2 damage. The Archon is actually making the Great Hand pretty much useless. Alright, and we're just going to... We could destroy the Great Henge, but I think I would rather just create a treasure token and draw 2 cards. Yeah, I'm still about that. Because we don't have the second red, and the treasure token gives us the second red if we want it. This is interesting. Yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of the land and the Mastermind's acquisition. And we could potentially flip. Yep, graveyard, transform. Interesting position to be in here. So if I kill this Archon right now, it's gonna put us in a weird position. So I'm just going to put that aside and pass the turn. We will take another 2 damage. I'm just gonna use this opportunity to play this Tainted Pact and go ahead and find myself the Thassa's Oracle. Take it. Yeah, it resolves. The thing is, we still can't react. We still can't go off without removing the Archon. So we're just gonna take this opportunity to try to hit lands. So this is a land plus a second Thassa's Oracle. Sure. We'll go ahead and play this. So I expect to take at least, if they play a land, that's 6. 9, 11. So they can play. They can do at least 11 here now. This is gonna put us down to 3, and then on end step, we can just go ahead and Tainted Pact all the way till we have 2 cards, and then we can play our Thassa's Oracle and win. Well, our opponent conceded, but there's always a risk that you can run out of time, and if you run out of time, what it's going to do is it's going to exile your entire library. And so it's always important to make sure you have enough timeouts. In my experience, if you want to exile like 40 cards, you need to have at least 1 timeout. And in that point, we had like 30 cards, so we were pretty sure we were gonna make it so that we could leave cards in our library. So it's always important to do it with like Thassa's Oracle trigger on the stack, or Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. Only in scenarios like that where they had an Archon was it right to have to go on their turn. All right, so we're going to game 2, playing against a creature heavy deck. Wrath effects are good, and removal's good. So Legion's End, Erebos, Crux of Fate. I like to bring in Gust because it's usually better than like having Mastermind's Acquisition, because in a matchup like this, you don't really have time to cast a card like that. Narset. I like to keep in Solve because it can find you a Wrath, and 6 mana is much more likely than 7 or 8 mana. Wishclaw Talisman's usually really cheap, but they can interact with it whenever they want to. I usually like to cut Pact and Wishclaw. I think I'm going for the Wishclaw. Yeah. Alright, and let's run game 2. Alright, this hand is questionable. I'm gonna keep because we can get a Wrath with the Solve the Equation. That's actually a pretty fantastic draw. Because that Inquisition here is definitely going to make things a lot easier. Yep, we can just take the Thalia. No turn 2 play. It's going to make our life a lot easier. Another really good draw. So we have access to a turn 3 play pretty much no matter what now. It could be Maze Mind Tome, it could be Vision, it could be Solve the Equation. All of these are legit. There goes the Solve the Equation. Alright, so I'm going to set an upkeep stop. I'm going to play the Maze Mind Tome. I'm going to play the Evolving Wilds and pass. So this will guarantee me the second red. And so it turns on a lot more of my board wipes. We'll take the 3. And Archon will see play now. So we'll go ahead and get our mountain. Archon resolves. See if they have the land. Oh, they go ahead and play the land. Maybe they drew company. We'll bottom, and on upkeep we'll scry again. Yep, we will keep that. Draw. We'll go to main phase. And I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go ahead and kill the Archon. And that will allow my Sulfur Falls to come in untapped. We can set another upkeep stop, and this way we were able to leave open Censor, which they don't know about. Take another 3. And they're gonna go ahead and cast another Elite Spellbinder. So I'm gonna let that resolve. If they decide to take the Censor, I think I'm cool with that. A good part of Maze Mind Tome is that you can gain life from it. So everything ends up being a lot better. I think I'm gonna scry here. And that is technically a win condition. So I'm down to keep. We'll draw. And we're just gonna go ahead and cast this, because we're looking for lands. So this allows me to potentially play the Crackling Drake and the Fake and potentially find me something else. But I'll keep the Dragon Soul Summit. I'll get rid of the Fae though. I want a board wipe. Oh, you can still play this as a land. I did not realize that. That's important to note down. I think that was a mistake. Alright, that makes things a little bit more complicated. But I think at the end of the day, we're just gonna scry here, gain the 4. We really could use a Crux of Fate. Valakut's Awakening. Interesting, but I will pass. Killing. That's actually pretty good. It gives us some more life to work with. Yep, we'll go ahead and play this, see what we hit. We hit a Thoughtseize. Also interesting. So right now they have 8, 11 in play, and they can make it 14. And I can go to 15 down to 13. So if they have double Skyclave Apparition, that's awkward. No. But they can't do everything. So it's worth Thoughtseizing here. Double Great Hinge. Card seems so bad. And it's time to pass. So I can block here. This is me taking 8, going to 2. How many cards do we have in the yard? We have a decent amount. Yeah. We'll let this happen. We'll go to 2. And then we'll cling from their yard. The Great Henge. Draw us a card. That is okay. So we have the swamp, and we can solve the equation. Solve the equation. Grab ourselves the Tainted Pact and Tainted Pact. We have the Thassa's Oracle, so there's no way to brick. So we're guaranteed to be able to make this 20. And so if you have a creature that can attack, you can... we have to make it 22. That's important to remember. And I'm pretty positive we only have one spell in hand that we are not blocking our Crackling Drake from being able to reach that amount. And we can also count the Tainted Pact in our hand. So we're already at 17. We're technically at 18. And we got it. So yeah, I mean, that was like a surprise win that our opponent probably didn't think about. And we were able to win. Alright, that gameplay was really good. We got to display 2 different wins there, one with the Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pact, and one with Crackling Drake. And you can kind of see how it's possible to line up Jace as well. Our opponent's hands were good and really interactive. The green-white matchup is definitely a closer matchup, but with all these board wipes and great interaction, it's hard to predict what this deck is gonna do while you're playing like green white or any deck that's trying to just buy time. So our whole plan just became to just make sure we hit our land drops, make sure we try to slow down their clock. When their clock got too fast, we had made enough land drops to execute our win with Crackling Drake. But yeah, I think that this deck, as it gets more tested and people become more like better with this deck, because this deck has a large learning curve, I would say this is the hardest deck in Historic by far. Like Phoenix was like tough, but this is way above Phoenix because it's very rare that you have access to the entire 75, and also the entire 75 being 71 different cards. So whenever you have a deck like this, it takes a certain level of skill and mastery, and that's kind of what the journey that I began on last week. And even the tournament that I was playing yesterday was a stream tournament. I punted an onboard win against my opponent, and that's just like experience and the amount of thinking and stuff like that has to go into this deck in order for you to win with onboard stuff. Yeah, I mean, give this deck a shot. Make sure you check out the sideboard guide in the description, and if you're not subbed, please give it a sub. I'm gonna continue to make content like this, try to up my game. Give me a comment if you liked it, didn't like it, how I can improve, because I do care about the content that I'm putting out there, and I appreciate all the subs so far. My first month has been really great, so thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys for the next video.